I just want to ask you for one thing. This button here is a subscription. It won't cost you anything, and it will only help me. Additionally, you will receive videos similar to this one. Mush, a name mentioned in almost every theory on the channel. He is one of the most important characters in the story. But surprisingly, Mush wasn't always a mindless creature that killed people. Actually, he was a human like any other. In fact, before scientists knew him as Click1, he was Anthony Burkwell. Nothing is known about him. In fact, we only know his appearance from this poster, and the way it's painted, well, it's not of the highest quality, but let's try to ignore that. This is about the story and being able to distinguish Anthony from Alex or someone else. But I'm sure you're wondering how I can be so sure that Anthony was transformed into Mush. Simply put, since we know the appearance of both Anthony and Mush, we can compare the two, and the best way to do that is by examining their faces and hands. Let's face it, his right hand is definitely not his own, as there is still a possibility that it was burned, although that is unlikely and unprovable. However, his left hand is different. It bears a striking resemblance to Anthony's. Yes, I know, it's not the strongest proof that Anthony and Mush are the same person. The hand is not the best way to identify someone. But the face. It's so similar. Same hair, literally the same face. There was even a profile picture of Mush and Anthony on the real Bazili Land at one point. And today, the real Bazili Land is renamed Landa. But even if that wasn't enough and it wasn't clear evidence, that's fine. I have another piece of evidence that essentially confirms that Mush and Anthony are one person. We need to go back 5 months, specifically to the moment when the question mark reached 300 subscribers. We can skip the beginning, as it doesn't provide anything new in terms of the story. But at the end, for one frame, Mush becomes Anthony. And this confirms that it's him. Here, it is confirmed. Yes, this part was completely unnecessary, but somehow the video had to be stretched. Anthony is a character who was created with the intention of dying. Not solely for that reason, but you understand. Anthony was likely around 9 or 11 years old. He came from the influential Burkwell family, which was better off dead or decayed than as it was from 1980 until 1986. That's why it was necessary to eliminate this family. Of course, I still stand by the fact that Anthony's death was not intentional. I mean, Anthony didn't have to die that year, even if it was a mistake or a deliberate action in Bazili Land. The result was catastrophic for the Burkwell family. The entire family fell apart, and when you add to that the fact that this wasn't the first unnatural death among the Burkwell family members, it's clear that the family was in ruins. Anthony's death, as we already know, led to the closure of the park for a year. This marks the end of Anthony's life. Well, actually, I have to admit I lied. Anthony didn't die. He was just unconscious with a few broken bones and some bleeding. Despite falling from a high roller coaster, it was a miracle that he survived. So yes, Anthony could have been saved. However, before he was found by the police and his family, Sky High found him. Sky High had no interest in saving Anthony. In fact, they were content with the situation. Nobody knew if Anthony had died or if his parents had abandoned him somewhere. Nobody knew what happened to him. And when I say nobody, I mean nobody, including the people who worked on creating Mush. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony was listed in the files under a different name. It would have been a smart move. In mid-1987, experiments were conducted on Anthony while he was still unconscious. These experiments started to yield success, and it wasn't until 1988 that Anthony woke up from his unconscious state. The first thing he felt upon awakening was a pain unlike anything anyone else had experienced. He woke up because they had started the final experiment of removing body parts and replacing them with materials like plastic and common metals. Anthony was literally torn apart. And now he died in excruciating pain. I believe it was a horrifying experience to witness, especially when you realize that they were experimenting on a living child and causing his torment and death. They could have easily stopped it, but they couldn't because it would have resulted in a worse fate for them than Anthony's. This marks the end of Anthony's life, and a box has been created for Mush. Here's an interesting fact: Mush has Mesh written on his chest, but everyone calls him Mush. Mush is half animal and half machine, a unique clack-click. He has a heart, brain, and lungs but no blood. Anthony was nearly disemboweled, which is why he has almost no skeleton and why it has been replaced with metals and iron. Therefore, it's not advisable to strike Mush with bare hands. In fact, it's generally unwise to approach him, as he is completely controlled by the people at Sky High. Mush lacks blood, but his brain requires oxygen and his heart requires blood. So they decided to fill him with 2 liters of blood and 5 liters of ink, given the presence of machines inside him. Of course, he possesses enough electricity to power the artificial iron bones. Some of the muscles have also been replaced with machines because it's pointless to have a corpse that doesn't move. Controlling Mush's running is impossible, which is why he is equipped with a gun. And yes, he has bullets stored somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in his hand, but that's another matter. Overall, Mush is the first zombie. Yes, he still lacks free will, but he was never intended to have it. Mush was a costly experiment that didn't work as well as it was supposed to. However, it was a breakthrough for Sky High, which was undoubtedly ahead of its time and possibly more advanced than 21st century robots. Perhaps 1988 Sky High still surpasses our current technology. That's why I asked myself, what is Mush for? And after a day of contemplating, it dawned on me. He's not meant to kill, he's not a guardian. He serves as a guinea pig, a vessel for attempting to revive and reincarnate Anthony's soul, only to kill him and repeat the process. But who is he meant to revive? It's too expensive and relatively pointless to revive park employees or someone close to them. So who could it be? I will answer that in the video about the character who started it all, Nick Zotto. Okay, Mush was created around the time Lucas was getting out of temporary cells. Mush truly found his purpose around 2021. I don't mean to say that Mush didn't do anything until 2021, no way. He served as a test subject and yes, he hunted rebels. However, he wasn't very successful because they would easily hide around the corner before he could shoot. I can't say it's impossible for him to kill someone, but it's less common compared to other experiments or SMBL. Mush had a straightforward task. The cameras in cells could self-destruct with one solid hit, but what about Mush? Mush was like a walking siren and camera combined. When it detected movement, it would emit a weak electrical discharge to alert SMBL and Bazili Land management that something was wrong. If they were fortunate, Mush could resolve the issue before SMBL arrived. But as I mentioned, that often didn't happen. However, Mush became significant in 2021 when he likely crashed somewhere and his chip probably broke. That's why he mistook Andrew for Alex or someone similar. In 013, he probably meets William for the first time. Of course, Mush had ill intentions. He wanted to do the same thing to William as he did to Andrew. Fortunately for William, someone from the shadows saved him and shot Mush with a shotgun. Nonetheless, Mush didn't die. It caused his temporary shutdown. Mush broke down. He ran out of ink and he didn't have enough blood. The organs and machines inside him stopped functioning. Nobody, only time, played a role. Yes, the mistreatment of Mush in the presence of substances that shouldn't be in his body contributed, but time played the most significant part. In 2021, Mush would be 33 years old. And Anthony would be 42 years old. That's a long time Mush has endured without water and essential nutrients. To add to that, Mush carries Anthony's soul within him due to the numerous times he died and was revived. Well, I misspoke earlier. Mush is merely a walking corpse. By 2021, he's already partially under the control of Anthony's soul and Sky High. In short, what happened to Mush remains unknown. One thing is certain, Sky High, who kept him and didn't subject him to insane experiments, is no longer in control of him. Mush acquired what he lacked, his own mind. However, it is still influenced by Anthony's soul, which seeks revenge and doesn't hesitate to kill anyone in its way. We have no choice but to reflect on Mush's tragic life and hope that after decades of torture, Anthony's soul will find peace.